Most people think financial success means maximizing their income, maximizing assets, or maximizing appearances. But one of the most valuable financial assets is something far less visible: flexibility. Because financially resilient people are not simply wealthy, they are adaptable. They have room to maneuver, capacity to absorb change, and the ability to make decisions without immediate financial pressure controlling them. In the last episode, we explored how liability structure affects resilience. But now we ask a bigger question: how much freedom does your financial structure actually create? Because ultimately, financial systems either expand future choices or quietly eliminate them. Optionality means having choices, and financially, choices have enormous value. A flexible financial structure allows people to change careers, relocate, pursue opportunities, tolerate uncertainty, invest intelligently, or survive unexpected disruptions. Rigid systems reduce these possibilities. Every fixed obligation narrows future pathways, reduces adaptability, and increases dependence on stable conditions. This is why flexibility itself becomes an economic asset, because flexibility increases survivability, strategic positioning, and long-term opportunity creation. Let's now compare two financial systems directly, and this is where the framework starts to come together, because financial fragility is not caused by one ratio alone. It emerges from the intersection between liquidity, solvency, lifestyle rigidity, financing pressure, and leverage amplification. Let's begin with household A. Monthly income, $10,000. Variable lifestyle costs, $3,500. Fixed lifestyle costs, $2,000. Financing costs, $500. This leaves a monthly surplus of $4,000. Now notice what happens structurally. The household maintains strong liquidity, low financing pressure, and large adaptive capacity. The liquidity ratios: current ratio 3.8, quick ratio 3.5, meaning the household has strong short-term resilience. Solvency ratios: debt to income ratio 1.8, debt service ratio 12%. The structure is not highly dependent on future income remaining perfectly stable. Leverage ratios: the degree of lifestyle leverage 1.4. This means small changes in income create relatively modest pressure amplification. Degree of financial leverage 1.1. Financing obligations are manageable. Debt is not heavily amplifying fragility. Degree of combined leverage, which is just the degree of lifestyle leverage multiplied by the degree of financial leverage, is 1.54. And this is extremely important because this ratio measures total structural amplification. A 1% change in income creates only approximately a 1.54% change in financial surplus. That is a resilient structure. Now let's compare household B. Same monthly income, $10,000, but now the variable lifestyle costs are $3,500, fixed lifestyle costs are $4,500, financing costs are $1,500, leaving only a monthly surplus of $500. Now the structure behaves completely differently. The household appears successful externally, but internally, the system has become extremely rigid. Look at the liquidity ratios first. The current ratio, 0.8. The quick ratio, 0.6. This household has weak short-term flexibility. Small disruptions become dangerous quickly. Turning to the solvency ratios, debt to income ratio is 5.2, and total debt service ratio is 42%. A massive portion of future income has already been committed. Turning to the leverage ratios, degree of lifestyle leverage, 4.0. This means small changes in income create amplified stress very quickly. Degree of financial leverage, 2.0. Debt obligations are heavily magnifying fragility. The degree of combined leverage, again, just the degree of lifestyle leverage multiplied by the degree of financial leverage, 8.0. This is the key insight. A 1% decline in income now creates approximately an 8% decline in financial surplus. That is an extremely fragile structure. Notice something extremely important. Both households earned the exact same income, but their financial systems behave completely differently. One structure preserves adaptability, protects optionality, and absorbs pressure. The other amplifies instability, increases stress, and eliminates flexibility. And this is why integrated financial analysis matters, because liquidity, solvency, and leverage do not operate independently. They interact together inside one financial system. And once we understand that, we stop asking, how much money does this household make? And start asking, how fragile is the structure underneath? One of the most important things liquidity creates is time, and time changes decision quality. Without liquidity, small disruptions become emergencies. A missed paycheck, unexpected repairs, or temporary unemployment immediately creates pressure. But with liquidity reserves, the structure behaves differently. Pressure slows down, and that changes everything psychologically, because people make worse decisions under pressure. Liquidity creates patience, negotiation capacity, strategic thinking, and emotional stability. This is why emergency funds are far more than simple savings accounts. They are structural stabilization systems. Now let's compare two households again. Both experience a temporary job disruption, unexpected repairs, and rising living costs. But household A has 8 months of liquidity reserves, strong quick ratios, and low fixed obligations. Household B has almost no liquidity, weak quick ratios, and high debt servicing pressure. The economic shock is identical, but the outcome is completely different. Why? Because liquidity changes reaction time or reaction speed, emotional stability, and the quality of future decisions. And over time, better decisions compound. Rigid systems fail more easily. Flexible systems absorb pressure. This principle exists in engineering, biology, investing, business, and personal finance. Financial fragility often develops when households maximize commitments, eliminate buffers, and optimize entirely for short-term appearance. But resilient systems behave differently. They preserve liquidity, optionality, manageable leverage, and adaptive capacity. This is the key distinction. Strong systems do not merely survive ideal conditions, they tolerate imperfect ones. And now we can connect this back to leverage directly. Highly leveraged households amplify volatility, reduce flexibility, and increase fragility, especially when liquidity is weak, obligations are rigid, and optionality disappears. This is why high degree of combined leverage structures become dangerous, because even small disruptions create disproportionately large outcomes. And once flexibility disappears, fragility accelerates very quickly. Low obligations create hidden economic value because every obligation consumes future flexibility. A household with low fixed costs, moderate leverage, and strong liquidity can often outperform a higher income household structurally. Why? Because lower pressure creates patience, strategic flexibility, lower stress, and greater adaptability. And adaptability becomes extremely valuable during uncertainty. This is one of the most overlooked concepts in personal finance. Financial freedom is not simply high income, it is the preservation of future choice. The most important insight from this episode is this: financial systems are interconnected. Liquidity, solvency, leverage, flexibility, and optionality do not operate independently. They interact together, and fragility emerges from that interaction. A household may appear wealthy, earn strong income, or possess large assets while still remaining structurally fragile underneath. Because resilience is not determined by appearance, it is determined by system design. And once we begin thinking this way, personal finance changes completely. We stop asking, how successful does this structure look? And start asking, how resilient is the system underneath? And that is a far more important and powerful framework. For most people, personal finance feels reactive. Bills arrive, pressure appears, and decisions are made under stress. But throughout this series, we've been building something very different. We've been building a financial structure designed to absorb uncertainty. Because resilient systems are not simply wealthier, larger, or more impressive, they are more adaptable. They preserve liquidity, flexibility, optionality, and future decision-making capacity. And ultimately, that is what financial resilience really creates: choice. But now the framework begins evolving again, because a resilient structure alone is not enough. Strong financial systems must also be monitored, operated, adjusted, and managed dynamically through time. In the next episode, we begin transitioning from financial architecture to financial systems operation. We'll explore interconnected financial systems, feedback loops, pressure propagation, operational dashboards, and how resilient systems behave dynamically through time. Because once the system becomes visible, it can finally be operated intelligently.